Hi, everybody. We are behind the scenes with your teen. And big shout out to Jen Pro, who took the assignment to a whole new level. We are going to talk. You can smile, Jen. Is that not part of the costume?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not wearing a costume. This is how it works.
Okay, so that's super awkward. I'm so sorry. So awkward. So we're starting to feel like fall in the air and Halloween around the corner, and some people have already decorated homes outside and inside, which Emily has done. And we have a little bit of a tense relationship with Halloween at your teen, because we have occasionally shared an article that it didn't get a lot of love. We're not sharing it this year, so if you're curious, I guess you could search for it. But the article was about a mom who didn't really want to give candy to teenagers who weren't dressed in costume, and maybe didn't even want to give candy to teenagers, but for sure not if they weren't dressed in costume. So we just thought we would share our position on it, and I'm going to start by saying I don't get many people coming to my house. We're not a neighborhood that people go to, and I'm always a little sad. This year, our city actually sent out suggestions for how we could give out candy. Like we could create a candy wall. We are not supposed to hand candy to a kid, but they suggested PVC piping. Is that what it is? So that you could put the candy on your end and have it run down to them. I mean, really some very clever ideas that I'm not doing. But kids coming to my house not in costume has always been a little bit of a rub for me. I would still give them candy, and I'm sorry because I stole someone else's line, but you could say it too, because we're really just talking about how do we feel about the holiday. And there is something delightful about little kids coming up that isn't replicated in the teenage years. Anyway, so I'm going to pass this along to our not in costume Gen Pro. And how do you feel about trick-or-treating?
Obviously, I am a fan of this holiday, and it was a really sad realization for me the year that I realized that I liked Halloween better than my kids. They kind of outgrew it a little bit, and maybe they'll come back to it someday, but I like to dress up when I hand out the candy. And would I prefer that you have a costume when you come to my house? Yes. But my thinking has evolved on this over the years, and I now feel like God bless you. If you're a teenager who's choosing to go door to door to get candy, as opposed to creating mayhem and mischief somewhere in my city, I am more than happy to give you candy. But here's a little tip. You're going to get better candy if you wear a costume. That's how I feel about it. Let's see, who would like to go next? How about Emily, way out there in California?
Hi, everybody. My thinking on this is that it has evolved as well over time. And I guess it just reminds me that as a parent, we're always able to learn something new. The thing that really it reminds me of is being at the playground when I had really little kids and seeing the older, like middle school or upper elementary kids come and run all over the playground. And when I had little kids, I thought they were such a menace. And then, of course, when my kids are that age, I thought they need to use the playground too. And of course, they need to be careful about who else is around them and, aware of the younger kids. But I guess that's kind of how I feel about Halloween as my kids have gotten older, that they should get to have fun too. And I also think that this tween age is in a weird spot with Halloween, just like so many areas of their life, because you don't want them going to a high school party. You don't want them egging and TPing. But then in certain places, they get kind of shamed for wanting to still have fun with trick-or-treating. So, and especially now when so many adults have embraced Halloween, which I think is a little bit different from when I was growing up. So I guess I just feel more compassionate, I think, about the kids who are coming at an awkward age than I would have if I had read this article 5 or 10 years ago. So I will go to Eka.
Okay, so I'm going to be, bah humbug here. I do not like Halloween. Um, I feel like I've spent so many years teaching my children stranger danger and don't take candy from strangers. So then once a year, I put them in costume and send them out to ask strangers for candy, in costumes that make it so that they can't run away from the strangers how I've taught them to. But I'm overruled because my husband loves Halloween and he always helped our daughter make incredibly elaborate costumes, like a toilet bowl that you pulled on the handle and the lid open to put the candy in, a bubble bath with balloons. I mean, so he always, but one thing I do, this is kind of funny. Every picture of Halloween with the kids and my husband, who always would wear something, a hat or whatever, it always ended up in the kitchen, and always in the background was the pan that had the macaroni and cheese that we always had them eat at 5:45 before Halloween started at 6 o'clock. And every year that same pan with, I know, has dried macaroni and cheese is always in all the Halloween pictures. So that's my Halloween thing. Sorry, not on board. All right, I'm going to pass it over to the person above me, Mindy.
Thanks, Eka. I love Halloween. I don't love getting dressed up, and I'm not creative, so I don't like the whole figuring out costume thing, especially for my kids. But I do love kids coming to my door and seeing what their creativity is, saying hello to the neighbor kids, giving them candy. I love that. I think it's so much fun. However, I do think, especially once you're a teenager, put a witch's hat on. Put a cowboy hat on. I mean, you can make an effort. I don't understand this. Let me just go out and get candy from other people. Make an effort. So that's my deal. And if they do come to my door without a Halloween night, without a costume, and I have done this on previous Halloweens, I'm going to razz you a little bit. Like, why aren't you in a costume? Do you understand? Do you understand what Halloween is? Or tell them what a scary costume that they have, even though they have nothing on. So that's my thing. What's the harm? I would love for someone to explain to me what's so difficult about throwing a witch's hat on, or a pair of sunglasses and a Hawaiian shirt and going as a beach boy. Don't get it. So that's my story. I will give you candy, but it will not be as easy. And I do like Jen's idea of maybe you don't get the big candy bars that the other kids will get. So that's my story. And I will pass it down over to Sharon.
Okay, so I am a big fan of trick-or-treating, and I'm actually not that big a fan of dressing up myself because I'm not that creative about it. So, but I love the trick-or-treating part because I feel like it's the only holiday, except maybe 4th of July, that is sort of universal and out in the community. It's like the only holiday where people come out of their houses and come together. So many other holidays take place in a religious context or in our houses with only our closest family and friends. And I just think it's just such a joyous celebration of that we're all in the same community and we're all intermingling with people we may not normally. So I don't care how you're dressed. I don't care if you're an adult carrying a baby up to my door. I don't care if you don't live in my neighborhood. The more the merrier. I think it's so fun. And especially in my previous neighborhood where we had just houses really close together and it was a great place to trick or treat. We would have like 400 kids in an hour and a half, and it was so fun. And I just don't have time to give anyone a hard time about their costume or lack thereof. It's just, I just want to spread the joy. So I'm going to pass to Jody.
Hey, everyone. Sorry if my sound is weird or whatever. I'm parenting my parents, and I just helped them get to their winter destination. So I'm actually locked out of the house where I can have a little quiet to get on this call. But I kind of agree with everyone, which is weird. But I will say that my first experience with Halloween, my oldest son cried when we took him because we went up to a house and he went trick-or-treating and he didn't like the candy that we were giving out. He was a very picky eater. And so that was kind of hilarious. But I like alternated between like guilt that it was my fault and realizing that my kids just weren't really so creative with their costumes when they were younger, and they just loved wearing their whatever uniform they had on for whatever team they were playing on. They thought that was the greatest costume ever. But what I noticed as they got older is that they really got a little more creative and probably a little bit more inappropriate, you know, in their routines, in their costumes. But I thought that that was really the best part because it became their holiday instead of mine. Since for them, again, it wasn't about the candy, it was really more. So I think it is one of those weird things where we first look at it and we think it's so fun for the little kids, but in a way it just morphs into a different, like, kind of expression of themselves as they get older. And I kind of like that. And, etc. So I'm not a huge dresser upper, but I always would try to put a little pressure on myself to find something clever or punny or creative that I would wear to work. But yeah, so I don't know. I think it is a holiday that kind of evolves as you age, and you know, I don't know. It's hard though, because it's also become something that's more about that they don't want you to be part of. And I think when they're younger, it's a big family affair. You're all going around the block together and you're standing outside and, you know, you're figuring out who's going to stay at home while everybody else is out. So, and then all of a sudden they don't want anything to do with you too. So that's a weird part of, you know, as your kids get older with the Halloween. All right, Jessica, I can't wait to hear what you got this week. What can you tell us about Halloween?
All right, well, as somebody who was not, oh, Jody's gone. As somebody who is not cool enough to ever be invited to a Halloween party, and B, probably, I think, trick-or-treated up until my senior year of high school. I mean, I like Halloween. I like getting candy. I'm not the most creative person, but I have a lot of very creative friends, one in particular who just absolutely loves making costumes. So every year would be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Hey, what am I doing for Halloween this year? And my friend would come up with some sort of like costume for me, or like matching costumes. And you know, it's free candy. I'm not going to say no to that. I'd probably still be doing it if it was socially appropriate for me to be going out and collecting candy from strangers. But I don't know. It's fun. It was always fun.
Okay, so I just want to go around and say, I'm sorry, did everyone talk? Yeah, I can't, Jen, your mute is on if you wanted to say something. But let's just go around one time for the people who are putting candy out. What are you going to do this year? Like, I mean, you know, I'm not doing a PVC piping thing, but I think I'm just going to put out a bowl of candy. I don't know that that's so appropriate right now. But maybe little bags, so you could just grab a bag. I don't know. Anyone have any suggestions?
I'm waiting to see what's happening.
I was counting on Sharon to tell me what to do, so I guess
I always actually just hold the bowl out for the kids and let them, because I also think it's fascinating to see who takes one, who takes 4 handfuls. I just think that's really interesting. So
are you going to have a camera so you can watch?
I remember you from next year. So you were the one. No. So I'm assuming that's exactly what I'll do. I'll let them take their candy.
Anybody else with a plan?
This is my first year having it my own house. So I don't know exactly what that's going to be. It's going to be probably different than whatever I do once, you know.
Jessica, aren't you like upstairs in an apartment? You could probably drop it from your window. Wouldn't that be fun?
Which I probably could. I don't know. It is a thought now.
Oh, look how cute this is. So Rebecca Evans, I'm going to share her thing. It's awesome. She's got, oh, I just lost it. One sec. Dragon eggs lying spaced apart in yard filled with candies with a sign that says, take a dragon egg. Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks. If anybody has any other ideas, we'd love to share them. And we're only going to put out the addresses of the people who are going to be nice to you. So Sharon and Emily and Jen, your addresses will be shared. All right. No more. Well, people can put it later in the comments if you have other suggestions. But I love the idea of putting something on the lawn with a sign. I think I'm going to go for that one. All right, everybody. I'm sure. Here's Jody again. Let's see if she has anything to add. What's your plan, Jody, for this year?
We have been talking about making Halloween packages for a few of our very dear little cute neighbors and a few other friends that we will deliver to.
Okay, so she's gone, but she said making packages for some people. I think that they maybe hand deliver. Jen has an idea.
A couple years ago in our neighborhood, these people started doing something called booing, and I think a lot of people do this, where you can print something off the interwebs that says you've been booed, and you put a little package on their step, and you do a ding dong ditch like after dark. So you can put out like a little pumpkin with some treats in it for kids or family. You leave it on their step, you ring and run, and then you leave an extra one for them to do the same for the next people. So I think we haven't done this for a couple of years in our neighborhood. I think it's time to bring it back.
Well, you know what? No, everybody's got a ring or some kind of doorbell camera.
So maybe you dress up when you do it.
No one would know who you were.
No.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about Halloween again because we have a few more days. But thanks everybody for being here with us. And if you have other ideas, put them in the comments. Thanks.